Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I missed it last night, but as you saw in last night's vlog, I was at a party, so I couldn't really watch the episode. But I just got done watching this week's episode of Game of Thrones, and it's kind of surreal because this is the last time. This is like the first time I've watched an episode during the day since like I first marathon the seasons 1 and 2 of the show. So it's a little weird, like it's a little weird, like going and watching it with like light coming through the window. But what are you gonna do? So anyway, yeah. So this week's episode was, oh my god, it was hard to watch. I feel like every plot point, every plot thread except that was presented in this episode. I feel like this episode conveyed all the plot threads that were neglected in last week's episode. However, I do think last week's episode was a bit stronger of an episode, simply because those pertain to the more interesting plot points. But, what's it called? I feel like this week's episode, except for Arya's Arya's arc, I feel like every other arc is in the absolute worst position possible. Maybe not Tyrion and Jorah's arc, but, like, every other arc is probably in one of the worst positions it could possibly be in. So you have, except for Arya, which I'm going to talk about right now, Arya's arc is in a position in which she is at what she's been striving for all the time. We finally got to see the deepest level of the House of Black and White, which was really cool. I was waiting for that scene all season, and we finally got to see it, and it was really cool. But still, I feel like that plot thread is not as interesting as I expected it to be. And then we also have the Sand Snake plot thread, which I feel was neglected a bit. I mean, especially how heavy the Sand Snakes are in the fourth book in the book series, which is one of the books that this season is based on, even though they're not really following the books as strictly as they could. I feel like those were one of the most major plot threads of the entire book, and they're being a little neglected. They're that plot thread with Jaime and Ron was interesting, and the battle was really cool to watch. However, it was a little confusing, because since Jaime and Bronn were wearing the same outfit, it was a little hard to tell which one was which. However, it was literally less than a minute of a battle that could have gone on for a good 5 minutes, and it could have had like a lot of witty dialogue and areas that I feel like they blew their wad there. They're like, oh, we'll build this up. First of all, they didn't do enough build up. Second of all, they did it, and it didn't really work. But now they're captured. And then you got, I'm going to talk about the worst arc for a lot. But yeah, you got Tyrion and Jorah, who were captured by slavers. And Jorah makes the comment, Daenerys outlawed slavers. It's like, we're not in Daenerys' territory. We're in the Volantis, they said? I'm not sure. But, they're in a different territory in which slavery is still legal that Daenerys hasn't made her way to yet. But through his wit, Tyrion is able to convince the slavers to take Jorah and Tyrion to Meereen, and although they're being taken to the fighting pits, Daenerys is obviously going to be present at some of the fighting pit meetings and see Jorah there, as well as Tyrion, who they're going to try to. They're saying that apparently it's like a lot of those like superstitions, like albinos in some countries in Africa, where it's like luck to call it their penises, which is the most inhumane thing ever. It's like dwarves are like that in the world of the books, and he's like, well, you can't prove that my penis is dwarf unless you bring me with them and then prove it when you sell it. And they're like no, and he's like, oh really, my dick's pretty big. And it was a pretty funny line there. But yeah, so that they're gonna get to Meereen much faster, and I hope they meet Daenerys, or maybe the ending shot of the scene could be an eye contact between Daenerys and Jorah. That would be interesting. But then again, Jorah also has grayscale, so that might be a problem that's going to be heavily involved towards the end of the season. Since we're almost done, we have 4 episodes left of the season. Man, it goes by fast. And then we got the absolute worst, the most painful thing ever, which was which was Sansa's arc this episode. And I have to say, it's probably some of the best cinematography we've seen in the show yet. Not because of how beautiful and entrancing it looks, like you want to be there, but how off-putting and sinister the entire scene of Winterfell looks. Like, in the beginning of the show, Winterfell was this, like, it wasn't really bright, it was always gloomy in the sky, but it was always this, like, light area. But now, it's just so dark and brooding, and you have all these different dark shades. And the final scene of the episode was probably one of the most painful to watch since Joffrey's era. I think it's probably been the most painful to watch since Ramsay was torturing Theon in the early stages of Theon's capture. And it was just almost unwatchable. I had to cringe. It was horrible. And I feel like I knew it was going to be better before it gets worse, but I feel like at this point, Sansa's going to smarten up and go light that candle, and Brienne or someone else is going to go rescue her. She's finally going to be like, shit, this shit just got real. And the Faith Militant arc is my least favorite arc this season. It's just kind of boring. I mean, I'm kind of over the King's Landing stuff. I'm at the point in the show where I want the Song of Ice and Fire to play out more, like with the stuff up north above the Wall and the stuff in Daenerys' territory, and the Red God mythology with Melisandre and Stannis. And we know a big battle between Stannis and the Boltons is going to come this season, but we don't know when. It could be the finale, it could be next episode, we don't know. So, I always have a habit of not watching the previews before the next episode comes out, but that's just me. Anyway, I am going to get to MLP. I have not seen the last 2 weeks' episodes. I heard last week's was the Smooth episode, so I'm really excited about that. I do have to watch those 2 episodes. I'll probably vlog about that tomorrow if nothing else comes up. But then again, also, big news. There may be a new con we're going to. I will announce it once I know more information and know if we're definitely going or not. I'm not going to announce it yet, so for now it's a surprise. But once again, the same rules will apply. If you want to meet up, just comment, message, whatever, and we can hang out and it'll be a great time. But I'll get to that eventually. But yeah, Game of Thrones this season is amazing. This episode, I would say, is probably the weakest so far, other than the ending of the episode, which was so painful and so hard to watch that I feel like it was excellently crafted. It reminded me of some of the hardcore scenes in like 12 Years a Slave even, which have some of the best cinematography in film, period. So, other than that, the episode was not that strong, but it had an excellent payoff at the end that was very painful. So that's about it. And I'm gonna go change out of this fucking hoodie, get into a bathing suit, and go swimming if the skies clear up. Because that's what I do now. Okay. So that's about it. I'll see you guys later.